Another big story today. Justin Trudeau has made the cover of, you guessed it, Rolling Stone magazine. The Prime Minister is the subject of a feature article in the iconic pop culture publication. Appearing on the cover with the headline, Justin Trudeau, why can't he be our president? The article looks at his political views, his style, his family life, and also notes, highlights, and emphasizes the differences between Justin Trudeau and President Donald Trump. The writer also says Trudeau reminds him of Barack Obama. So we have got our own little panel here to talk a little bit more about Justin Trudeau and his political charm, and now Rolling Stone to add to his cap. We've got marketing and brand expert Tony Chapman standing by in downtown Toronto, and Laura Babcock, the president of Power Group Communications in Hamilton, Ontario. Tony, your reaction to this?
Well, Justin Trudeau works for me. I mean, I'm a citizen. It's my tax dollars that go into it. So am I happy that he is renowned around the world, a celebrity rock star? Absolutely. He's a branding expert, without question. The fact that he's this rock and roll star. The question I have, though, is what is he doing to bring that back to Canada? What's he doing to leverage that celebrity status and help to grow, especially our new economy?
Laura, what do you think?
I think that whenever Justin Trudeau is profiled, and the Rolling Stone article has some substantive things in there about how Trudeau's platform, the Liberal platform, in fact, Canada, differs from the United States right now. And that juxtaposition, Todd, is meaningful because what that does is it kind of gives advantage Canada. So to Tony's point, how is this celebrity, how is this good PR being leveraged back home? I think it helps to open up people looking potentially at doing some things here in our market, possibly moving here as the article ends. You know, this might be a good place to sort of survive the storm that's going on in the U.S., but I think it's also an advantage for our IT markets. It's an advantage for our innovation sector.
I'm curious, Tony, whether you think Justin Trudeau would be on the cover of Rolling Stone and would be getting this sort of lavish coverage, really, if Donald Trump was not in the White House. I mean, if there wasn't such a stark contrast between these two men.
The great narrative that we fall in love with is good versus evil. I mean, it's the root of every superhero movie, every rom-com where you're about to marry the wrong person and you finally find the right person. I mean, we love that narrative. It's a great foil. His ability to continue to invest so much time into building his celebrity status, I love. But I'll tell you, Todd, what we got to do is we got to start taking advantage of what's going on in the States. I'd like him to have an assembly of the top tech leaders. Say, invite 100,000 entrepreneurs to come up and set up shop in Canada, provide them capital, fast-track citizenship. Take advantage of this celebrity and say, hey, you like what I stand for? You like what Canada stands for? Put your money where your mouth is. Come in and build your future here. We're the country for you.
You know, the article, Laura, was not entirely a puff piece. I mean, it did mention some of the political missteps that Justin Trudeau has made over the past 18 months. Was it enough?
Well, I think that Rolling Stone is typically a deep interview, and it's really interesting that they don't just talk about content. The reporters in Rolling Stone often tend to look at body language. They describe how the person is listening, how they're responding. And in this case, Justin Trudeau was compared to Obama several times, which, of course, is going to be appealing to a lot of people in the United States who are not happy with the current administration down there. And when it did talk about some of the missteps, such as what's going on with the payment, the $10 million to Omar Khadr, and a few other things, it gets into them a little bit, but by far and wide, this article is high praise. Not only does it talk about the differences that we have around legalization of marijuana, for instance, but around healthcare and a number of other signature liberal issues, but it also goes into how welcoming we are as a country. It talks about the fact that we're inclusive, whereas the U.S. is building walls. And I think to Tony's point again, if we can leverage this by saying, okay, we are inclusive, we are open, we're going to stay that way for the near future anyway, so come on, tech sector, come on, the big innovators, big entrepreneurs. Canada is advantage Canada for the next 10 years.
It's interesting that this article, this cover, has triggered a reaction as well, a bit of a backlash too. In some quarters, the two of you know this, certain Canadians taking to Twitter, kind of rolling their eyes and saying, this is an example, once again, of sizzle, no steak, his political celebrity, and he's getting too much credit for this kind of thing. Are you surprised about that, Tony, that it divides Canadians?
No, it's a very different brand when he's outside the country than when he's inside. Inside, we're saying, do we feel better about our life? Is the foundation underneath our feet firmer? Do we think our prospects going forward? And I'm not sure that at the time he's been in the office, people are looking, saying, wow, he's done a lot of good. He's borrowed a lot of money. He's invested it, put a lot into foreign aid. But the average Canadian, are they really feeling different about who they are? outside the country, he is absolutely a rock star. And again, I go to my point. Do a tourism video. Do a tourism video showing Justin Trudeau with his pipes and doing all the lovely things that he wants to do. Send it around the world to get 100 million impressions, and we'll build their business. Do things that he can do to take the spotlight off of Justin Trudeau and put it where we really need it, on creating jobs and creating an economy for Canada.
It also strikes me, Laura, that perhaps some of this, people are just not used to it. I mean, you know, there are these unfair stereotypes that Canada is sort of nice but a bit boring. And all of a sudden you've got, you know, and so are our politicians, or so the narrative goes. And all of a sudden you've got this guy who is a political rock star, and we're still trying to make sense of what that means.
That's true, and you couldn't get a better brand ambassador from that perspective in 2017. He's photogenic, he's telegenic, he speaks well on the world stage. He exemplifies a kind of class because, of course, he was raised around some of these world leaders. He understands how to be on that global stage. His communication is usually pretty spot on. He has a couple of missteps here and there, but generally speaking, the rest of the world leaders are enamored with him. And when you compare that to how they see Donald Trump, it really is important, I think, for Canadians to, you know, to what Tony was saying. Sure, Canadians will make maybe an ultimate decision based on whether they're better off with the Trudeau government than they were with Harper's government. But I wouldn't underestimate how much Canadians like to see someone from Canada being revered by the world, especially by the United States. We've often looked up to the United States to give us the kind of, you're doing a good job, Canada, or you're cool, Canada. Well, Trudeau is delivering that, and I think that Canadians really like that.
Tony Chapman, Laura Babcock, great to get the two of you with us today on CTV. Great conversation as well on this.
Thanks for having us.